Hello, gorgeous souls. This is D. Aquilin, and I wanted to come on with this supplement class talking about 7 factors that negatively affect your spiritual vision because the class on Sunday was very powerful to me. I don't know about you, but it was powerful to me. And I was getting emotional while I was sharing and everything because it's just so necessary. And it was a great reminder for me on how to continue to hold fast the vision that I have for my life and for my family. So I want to just come on just to share these. I'm going to call this a supplement class. And it's not really a class, it's just me just sharing some information. Also, too, we will be on tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock a.m. for our weekly guided affirmation. I realized that I had the notifications turned off on the group, so you wouldn't really get notified that I was actually going to be doing the guided affirmations. Plus, I also had the time of the group, the what's it called, the downtime, quiet time, or something. Pardon me. Set to 8 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock, especially for Wednesdays. So hopefully you'll get that. But I want to share these 7 factors that negatively affect our spiritual vision. And the first one is disbelief. And I talk about belief all the time, but we have to believe. We have to have full assurance and full confidence. That word believe means to accept is true. So whatever you holding a vision for your life, you have to accept that vision as true, meaning that it is already done and there is nothing that can take away from the fact that it is already done. And if it is already established within you, then it's only a matter of time before it's established outside of you. What really gets in the way of our manifestation is the actual disbelief. We don't believe that we're capable. We don't believe that we're worthy. We don't believe that it's going to happen in the right time. And then, it's just so many things that can stand in a way. So you have to work on your belief. And my goal is that, over the span of this program, and just this community can be a community and a source for you where you can build your belief. So I'm going to start incorporating more mindset classes and helping all of us to establish some new belief systems, or to fortify our current belief systems in the things that we are standing in faith for. So the number one thing that is they really not in really numbers, like no, none is more important than the other, but the number one that I have written is disbelief. You have to start working on your belief. I always go back to Mark chapter 9 when Jesus healed the little boy who was possessed with demons, and he asked his father. He said, "Do you believe?" And the father said, "Yes, I believe." But then he said, "Help thou my unbelief." In other words, I believe, but there are some parts of me that is still uncertain and unsure. And that uncertainty and that not being sure is the disbelief. So we have to ask God to help us, but we also have to constantly continue building our beliefs. Beliefs are built by what we hear. So, what are you hearing on a consistent basis? What are you telling yourself on a consistent basis? If you're constantly watching the news, if you're constantly reading the news, if you're constantly listening to number two, we're going to get into that in just a moment. If you're constantly listening to the naysayers, then it's going to rob you of your belief, and then it's going to build fear in you. And fear is another one that we're going to talk about in just a moment. So number one is disbelief. The second factor that negatively affects our spiritual vision is naysayers. The people in our lives who always have something to say, who don't believe, they are always talking. This is why we talked about Lot having to get away from, Abram having to get away from Lot before God gave him the vision, because not every person in your life is going to go where your vision is taking you. And if you start telling people what you're seeing and they don't see it and they don't have the same belief that you have, then they will begin to speak negatively against it. or they will, it may not even be directly specifically towards your vision, but they will start planting seeds of negativity regarding the vision that you have on your life. And the more that you listen to it, the more that you take it in, of course it builds your belief system. And your belief system is can be positive or negative. You can believe for good or you can believe for bad. It shall be unto you according to the thing that you are believing. Scripture says it should be unto you according to your faith. Well, a part of faith is belief. So we have to understand that having the right people in our lives, we need faith people in our lives. We need people who believe. We need people who are going in the direction that we're desiring to go. This is why, changing your circle and having certain people in your life is super important. And it's hard because you, like I said before, you love these people and you have relationships and you're committed and all of that. But if they're not going where you want to go, then you need to either stop communicating the vision and the dream that you have for your life, or you need to just get them out of your life altogether. So, naysayers is number two. Number three is comparison. And I talk about this all the time, but comparison can rob you of so much, and it will definitely rob you of your vision for your life. So, you have to get out of the comparison game, because what we'll try to do is we'll try to compare our timing to other people's timing. We want to compare our end result to other people's end results, and it's just it's a prison, and it paralyzes your life. And the more you live in comparison, the more you get caught into that vortex of comparison, comparison, comparison. And it's hard to pull yourself out of that. And so you have to be mindful going into creating the vision for your life, that you're not going to compare to what other people have and what other people's results are or what other people's timing is and all of that. You need to have tunnel vision on what you have going on for yourself, and that's it. Imagine if Jesus was there was I can't think of the name of the guy. I think it was a couple of guys, but the disciples came back to Jesus and said, they're casting out demons in your name. And he said, those who are who are not against us are for us. But imagine if Jesus had just said, oh, really? What are they doing? How are they doing it? And he started comparing himself to those people. Then his ministry would have been ineffective, because he would have been so caught up in comparing himself to other people that he wouldn't have been able to do as much as he did. And scripture tells us that he did so much that there would not even be enough books to be written. There would not be in any room to hold all the books written for all the things that he did. But just imagine if he just compared himself to those guys, or compared himself to the disciples, or compared himself to other people who had been before him. We have to get out of comparing ourselves to others. Your race is your race. It is not even a race. Your, destiny, your purpose is yours only. Only. Now, some of our past looks similar, looks familiar, and things like that, but there's only one you. And because there's only one you, there's only one path to your end result, your end goal. So, number three is comparison. The fourth factor that negatively affects spiritual vision is comfort zones. Hand raised, but we get so comfortable in what we know and what we're used to that it's hard to either see ourselves outside of that, and it's even harder to take steps outside of our comfort zone. But we have to start doing those things that are uncomfortable. I know for me, just today I shared a reel, and I've been trying to start showing more of myself privately, like I'm trying to step outside of this comfort zone that I have, because I realize that there is so much on the other side of that comfort zone that is mine, and I won't have it unless I step outside of that comfort zone. And the same thing it is with you and the vision that you have for your life. unless you are willing to do something radical, do something new, do something. And when I say radical and new, I mean something that God is directing you, your highest self, the Holy Spirit is guiding and directing you to do. Then you have to take those chances and take those leaps out and those steps out on faith, and also outside of your comfort zone. It is very important that we do that. That's a part of taking action. You take action, but sometimes the action will lead you outside of your comfort zone, and that's okay. But you have to be courageous and know that you have it within you. God would never tell you to do something and pull you out of your comfort zone if God didn't know that you had the capability and the ability to step outside of that. The fourth factor that negatively affects our vision is distractions. We get so distracted. Comparison is a distraction, actually, but we get so distracted from and not having that tunnel vision, that focus that we need to accomplish the thing that we are here to accomplish, and to do what's necessary to get us to our expected end, because we are so distracted. We're distracted by what we see on the news, we're distracted by what other people have going on, we're distracted by even our current conditions that we're living in right now. And the goal is, yes, you manage the condition that you're living in, but don't let that take you away from the vision that you have for your life, for your end results. So do not get distracted. Do not get distracted. Make sure that you are focusing on the end result. Remember Neville Goddard, he said, think from that place, not to that place. Because I think that when you think to something, then there are some things that may get in the way. There are some obstacles if you are looking to it instead of from it, meaning that it's already mine. I already see it. I'm already living it. I already have it. Yes, it's already mine. And I already feel it. I already experience it in my soul, in my spirit, in my mind, in my and next you'll experience it in your physical body, but you have to move beyond all distractions. The sixth factor that negatively affects spiritual vision is discouragement. Discouragement. And this is something that I struggle with a lot. Not as much as I used to, let me say that. But it still comes up every once in a while. It'll rear its ugly head, and I have to deal with it. I want to say maybe every year I may go through this bout of discouragement, whereas it used to be a constant thing of just being discouraged. And a lot of the discouragement came from unrealistic expectations, and also it came from comparison, comparing myself to other people. And so I was discouraged a lot, and I felt like that I should have this, and I should, do this, and I should be further along than this, and all of that. But I had to realize that in this very moment that I am right now, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm exactly where God needs me to be, and I'm learning the lessons that I need to learn. I'm creating the habits and the discipline and the lifestyle to that matches my expected end. But right now, in this moment, I'm exactly where I need to be. So I don't need to be discouraged. Discouraged is displaced, when we displace our expectations. And when you displace your expectations, then it just makes you discouraged. And the last one is fear. We become so afraid of everything, afraid of what people are going to say, what people are going to think, afraid of making the wrong move, afraid of success, afraid of failure. There are so many fears that come into play. One of the ways that I deal with fear is I think about two things, and I had to remind myself to do this recently because I was facing something that I was dealing with. And it's like, oh, there's some fear here, and I need to figure out how I can move beyond this. But I do two things. I think about what would be the worst case scenario, and I ask myself, if the worst case scenario happens, will I be okay? And then I think about the best case scenario, and then I say, well, will I be okay? And that's really helped me to deal with fear. Now, when it comes to the vision that you have for your life, you are living in this space from it. And as you're moving more and more towards it, things will happen and things will come up. But if you face those things, if you run from those things rather, because you're afraid, then guess what? You will not get to your expected end. So you're going to have to face those fears. And here's the thing, the most beautiful thing about facing fears is once you face it, the thing that you fear becomes so minute, so tiny, so little, so, unbothersome. Because it really wasn't as big of a deal as the emotion of fear that you created within yourself. So, those are the seven factors that negatively affect your spiritual vision. I'm going to give you those one more time: disbelief, naysayers, comparison, comfort zone, distraction, discouragement, and fear. So, with that, I just want you to remember that you have to be certain, you have to have that clarity on whatever it is that you desire. And then you must connect with it through your mind power, but through your heart power, through your vision power, through your soul power, through every part of you. Every essence of your being should be reflected in, or should, what's the word? It should radiate out your end goal, your end result. And here's the thing, because we think that when we get to the end goal, when we get to the end result, that we plateau. We don't plateau. What happens is then you have a new vision for your life. And when you have that new vision, you do what it takes. You start the whole process over again. And the thing about doing it again is you've learned the lessons that got you to your expected end, and then you apply those lessons to get you to your new expected end, and it's an ongoing process. So with that, don't just see it, but live it in your heart, live it in your mind, and move towards it with your actions every single day. I was actually so funny because I love my coach so much, and I am so excited and happy to be connected with her. She generates an income that I desire. And today, so I was thinking, I know that she wakes up before day, like she wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I started setting my alarm clock for like 4:45. So I try to wake up earlier, because I'm already an early riser, but I try to wake up earlier so that I can kind of get my day started. And so I was just wondering the other day, because one of my affirmations that I say all the time is that I write it and I say it. I am so happy and so grateful now that I have the daily habits, discipline, and lifestyle that generates an income of at least $1,000 a day. And so I was wondering, because I know she makes at least $1,000 a day. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I wonder what her morning routine is like, because I want to adopt those. I want to adapt and adopt. So there are certain things that she may do that I don't do, that I may need to adapt to me and my lifestyle. Because if I want the habits and the lifestyle and the discipline to make that, then I need to figure out what are the habits and the disciplines and the lifestyle of someone who makes that. This is not comparison, this is inspiration, being inspired. There's a huge difference, and I think that sometimes we get those two mixed up. So she's inspiring me to create those habits. Now what I do is, now that I know, so I said all that to say today she posted a get ready with me or something, like my morning routine. It was like her morning routine. And I was so excited, because I was like, oh my gosh, I manifested this. Like, me wanting to ask her, what is your daily routine like? And I still want to know what she does throughout the day, but she's already mentioned what she does throughout the day. But that morning routine and what she does first thing she wakes up in the morning and things like that, I was like, okay, so now I have some structure to go by. And I said that so that we can understand the power of creating actions regarding the thing that we're wanting to create. It actually starts with the mind, the heart, but then it also supposed to carry out in our actions. Because in order for me to create that lifestyle, there's a lifestyle that I have to start living now. And that lifestyle that I have to start living now needs to be based on what someone right now is doing, and I can adapt it and adjust it for my own self the more I get into it. So, all of that is a part of creating the vision and casting the vision for your life, is not just saying it, not just seeing it, but also creating the daily actions and the daily habits and the daily lifestyle, the daily disciplines that it takes. This is why it's important to care to um, to envision it from, like Neville Goddard said, because from means I already know what it takes to live this lifestyle. I already know. So if your dream is, let's say, to have a marriage, a happy marriage, and whatever that looks like for you, then you need to have put yourself in the mindset of being married and what that looks like and what that feels like for you. And that means, we talk about this. I've talked about this before, and I hear a lot of other people talk about this. That, going to singles conferences and singles trips and stuff like that is not for you, because you are thinking from and not to your expected end. And from your expected end, you're already married. From your expected end, you already have the lifestyle of a married person. From your expected end, you're already going on, day dates, or date nights, or whatever you want to call it, from your expected end. So now you have to start creating the actions that go with that now. And as you create the actions that go with that now, what you're doing is you are training your subconscious mind to say, okay, we are already living this lifestyle, and it'll be only a matter of time before the universe starts to match what you're radiating out, and you'll find yourself in that relationship, in that in later on in that marriage. So it works. It sounds simple, but it is simple, but it's a matter of us reprogramming ourselves. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much for being a part of Inner Work University. Thank you so much for being a part of the Gorgeous Soul program. I send love and light to you. Know that you are the work of God, and God's work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. Take care.